What's in your thoughts? Oh, what's in your mind? What fills your head and what leaves it behind? It's too much today. It's too much today.
Welcome to Filling in the Gaps Rerolled. I'm one of your hosts, Malcolm.
I'm another host, Sam.
I'm the other one, David.
And today we're going to roll up some real cool adventures for you guys. But before that, let's spend, if you guys have had any, media or stuff inspiring you lately, maybe for your own stuff you're writing at home, not during this, but is there anything like that you've been thinking of?
Yeah, ever since Avatar was put back on Netflix, that's kind of just what I've been doing, is watching that. Because it's so great a show, and there's so much you can take and import into your own campaigns at home.
Honestly, the same. I just I just rewatched the episode where they meet the musician nomads, and that's been a lot of inspiration for me because I run a game for players who look at me for 10 minutes saying, "What do? How play?" And we've been playing for years, so I always like the NPCs to be like, "Go, do this."
My thing is that I didn't notice actually that one of the characters I'm playing as, because I'm not DMing right now, but I am a player in someone else's game, and I didn't realize that I was playing a character based off of the Seer, I think they're called, in Castlevania. And I was like, oh yeah, and I was like, this is this character. And then later on I was like, wait a minute. Oh, I just made a dumb version of that character. And not like a bad version, but legitimate, the intelligence of the character is the lowest stat. Mm-hmm. And so it was just like, oh, yeah, that's literally just them, but dumb. And so they're like, I showed one of my friends and he goes, yeah, you really did do this. And I was like, I didn't think I even took the inspiration. So sometimes, inspiration's a bit more subdued, little subtle slip-ins that you're like, I've got a completely original idea. No, but that's okay. Because I'm having a blast playing them. But yeah.
Yes, on to the next important question. Shall we roll?
Let's do it.
Alrighty, gentlemen. I'll go ahead and roll them dice.
So today I'm rolling some nice Dragon Ball Z inspired dice that I picked up at a con last summer. And I'll be rolling on the themes table. And I got a lovely 16.
Oh, that is hilarious. My dice have little shiny golden leaves in them, and they kind of pile up at the bottom. Very fall inspired. And I also got a 16.
Ooh. Let's see. Okay, so we got... This is... Alright, so in a previous episode, I pronounced this as Molly, but it has occurred to me that this might be Molly, who was... Again, this is another Molly episode. So it is sports is our theme, and our scenario is thrown in at the deep end. So, fellas, what do you think?
Ooh, I mean, initially, my thoughts go to Blitzball from Final Fantasy.
Oh, that's good.
Just because it's in water. Or that spear stuff. But that's just my initial thought.
Yeah, I was thinking water-based sports as well. Just kind of something deep underwater that is going to take the party by surprise.
Well, accidentally, when I was trying to say Kuatoa in a previous episode, I said Sahuagin, so I'm questioning if maybe this is the time to bring those guys in.
I love that. I think that'd be a great underwater fight or, competition, sports-wise.
I mean, you could do an underwater Olympics, but have it be more gladiatorial, maybe?
Yeah. Death sports are still sports, Mm-hmm. I think you could also combine, I think there was an Aztec version of basketball where the losing team was killed at the end. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it was very much dribbling a ball within this narrow corridor and you have to get into a basket at the end. But normally, I think the losing team was sacrificed, so that goes with Sahagins pretty well, or Sahuagins.
I never know how to say any of them in D&D world. I just accept that it is going to be wrong, and that but as DM, people will just go along with it, so it's fine. You're the DM, you get to name them whatever you want. People get the idea. But yeah, that's an interesting idea. How would they get to the point where they're playing these death sports?
Well, they're very kind of a warlike race. Just kind of reading up on them. They're definitely enemies of aquatic elves and lizard folk. Slightly less against tritons, which are another type of fish people.
I was about to say, how about the merfolk or tritons? But yeah, they're...
So this could be like practice for war, these war games. Something else that I thought was really interesting reading through this, the way that they keep lore rather than using like books. Apparently there's these things called singing bundles, which are conches and shells supported by bone and sinew, and when you shake them, it makes the language of the Sahuagin. So they like record it.
Oh, that's very cool. I like that a lot. I think that's something you could use even in this sporting event, whatever we may make it later on.
Oh, you gotta have, that's where the voice of the announcer comes out. Is it from one of those shells? It's like a pre-recorded thing. And I was like, round one!
Yeah, you just see this.
That way it could be... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, this way you just see like this skinny Sahagin come out and shake this ball, and this large voice comes out. I think that's cool. Sorry, I was listening to a podcast and they have a thing called Balls Deep, so it's now in my head. Thrown in at the deep end is what I was trying to say. I think if you have your players on a boat, or if perhaps they're swimming, all of a sudden just getting sucked down in, or maybe to just teleported into like this arena with little or no explanation of, you are now in a 4-on-4 fight. What are you going to do?
I do like that, especially considering that Sahuagin, is how I'm going to say it, do have like magical leaders, and that would be something that they would do, is like bring in someone to just be like, all right, next set of prey, we got these, we summoned them from this realm while they were sleeping, who cares, bring them in. Or maybe it's a thing where if you really want to go like that kind of classic, more 90s, 80s Space Jam-esque vibe, you have it bring, like, we had to bring down these great warriors to help us win this fight. Like, maybe it's not the Sahuagin who bring you in. Maybe it's the merfolk, and they're like, look, we challenged the Sahuagin in, like, a game to the death for this game, but we don't know how to do it, and then you're just in like, Sea Jam instead of Space Jam. Like,
I love Sea Jam. I think one, that should be the title episode, Sea Jam.
Yes, I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Yeah. So what will happen when or if the sea elves lose?
Oh, they have to be
Eaten?
Oh yeah, it's got to be a thing of like all of them. It's like they basically get to just destroy everything and take over, because that's what Sahuagin do. Mm-hmm. That is like in their thing. That is they have a very like, if it were on land, it's very burn the like scorch the earth strategy, but since it's underwater, I guess it's just like destroy.
Boil the water.
Yeah, boil the water. I like that. But yeah, it would be a thing where it's like they just get to take whatever they want. They get to probably eat the merfolk or sea elves or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you have that kind of thing where it's like they're not taking any prisoners, so it's even scarier than Space Jam. Because it's like, oh, no. It's like, what happens if you lose? You get to live, and it's like, no, they eat us. That's it. They'll eat you too now that we brought you in, so now you gotta help us. So, because I don't think the Sahuagin would really care that you're in there. And I think if you had the merfolk bring you in, they could also be like, hey, we made it so you can breathe underwater. Don't worry about that. Yeah, your actions and stuff are slowed. We can't fix that, but you can breathe. But help us win this game. Because that's one of my least favorite things, but also very interesting things about being in underwater is the fact that your combat is drastically different. Mm-hmm. So I feel like putting them in a teaching role would be interesting, because then it's like, how do you teach somebody when you're automatically at a disadvantage as is?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think you can also, here's another example of doing skill checks as types of in the game. So you could have your barbarian who has, his only skill is athletics for the most part. Here's this chance to swim through 5 hoops and whatnot. And you could really combine different water sports now. So you could have that blitzball be like day 1. And now he's like, all right, I'm athletic to swim enough underwater so I can go do something. Or, and every time they like win a game or something, you can have it go back and forth. So if you win this game, all of a sudden you get the ability that you're now comfortable swimming underwater. You have a swim speed. And so if you want to do this as a little longer than just one session, you can have these games like you said, the Underwater Olympics. You can have it last a little bit longer now.
And I think you could even excuse that as because it would be both of them trying to win more, because it would be the Sahujin being like, okay, we can't just, they can take us in one round, but if we make sure that we don't have a losing chance, it's like they're not strong enough to stop us. They're merfolk. So it doesn't matter how many rounds we give them. And then so it'll be like the thing where you're coming in, you're the Michael Jordan of the situation, going like, oh wait, I actually know how to do this. Mm-hmm. And you know how to fight. So it'll be helpful to helping them do stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So let's get down to what kind of games we have, because if we give our players little or no explanation and to reason why they're all of a sudden in this combat scene, we have them thrown in the deep end, literally and figuratively. Yeah. So what kind of sports, since our theme here is sports?
I feel like we're going to have to put shot put in, because that one works underwater.
Yeah, that'd be shot put or javelin type-esque.
Yeah, maybe you do it with like a trident to make it extra
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I feel like you could put in, what's the thing? You guys don't know because I haven't said it yet. But like you could put in water polo, underwater water polo, or just polo but underwater. So you're like riding seahorses, so it's water, it's underwater polo.
Yes, underwater polo. I
think one of the big events, just kind of a little going back to reading about Saugen, they love sharks. Sharks are like one of their religious animals, and they hate dolphins, which is, I guess they're friends with the aquatic elves. So we should have some kind of race where that'll kind of let your druid or whoever who has like a really good handle animal, whatever that skill is.
Animal handling.
They can be the one that goes out and kind of are racing these sharks or these dolphins against the Saugen's sharks.
Oh, like chariot racing. You can.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh.
If we want to go,
you could have even the sharks attack the dolphins, even so you could have it be like they get knocked off, and it's like now they need to ride with another dolphin, but that slows down the person who was riding the dolphin.
So we're going to combine NASCAR with chariot racing, where they have to go in for pit stops to get new dolphins instead of new tires.
Yeah, it'll just be a thing, and the fun part of that will be that won't be taken lightly. It'll be like your dolphin is dead, dude, and like we can't. There is a limited amount of dolphins, so it's like you can't keep doing this forever, and that could be like something that the Sahujin can attack directly. It will be like the concept of like if we burn them out of whatever. We're gonna because I think that should be a thing for them. That seems fitting to be more of spirit breakers rather than just like, oh, we're gonna take all your stuff. It's like, no, we want you to want us to take your stuff.
So that's
and then you can go.
That's
then
why
we'll
this whole
eat
thing
you.
started. So
Yeah.
whatever these merfolk lost the war and then kind of still had their spirit, so to break their spirit, the Sahuagin are like, well, we'll let you win a game or we'll play a game against you, and if you can win, you'll be able to kind of go through.
Yeah, well,
But
it'll
we'll
be
beat
the
you
thing
there.
of like, then we'll leave you alone. I don't even think it's like a thing of like you get anything. It's just like we'll go away. We'll find someone else to bother.
Oh, that's
Maybe a different Merfolk kingdom.
yeah, that's great because then you really make them into the. It's almost as if the Sahuagin are actually the Looney Tunes if we're going with the Space Jam because they're the ones challenging the aliens or the merfolk to a competition they think they're going to win.
Oh yeah. If we're going from the beginning of the actual Space Jam, which is a fantastic movie, go watch it before the LeBron James sequel comes out. Then it would be that kind of thing where it's like, we'll give you a thing that you can win, and then instead of it being that they got, instead of being that they stole talent, they just kidnapped the party and are like, please help us. These people are bad people. Please, we don't want to be eaten.
Yeah, and if you
It might not even be something they ask. It could be that they capture the party and then just tie them to a dolphin and are like, go win this race or that shark's going to eat you.
Oh,
I think
I like that a lot. Or if you're a DM who likes to thread things along, you can even have them like rescue a merfolk like early on in the campaign, and all of a sudden, halfway through a mission, they're sucked in and they're like, "Well, Fred said you were a great party, so like we spent all of our
we
gold.
needed your help."
Yeah, we spent all our gold and magic power to summon you here, so win this for us."
You could have that. I admittedly, David, I was not originally on board with the tying idea, but that can be a good way to deal with the thing of the party if they're like, no, we don't want to help you. And it's like, well, we asked. Knockout. And it's like, now you wake up, you're on a dolphin. Go win the race. Like, it can be a thing where it's like, if there is reluctance and you honestly are like, but I planned out this whole game already, then you can go and do that where you're like, you're on it. Or if you're the kind of DM who's just like, no, I don't think that the people would be nice and ask. My world's mean. So then you just have it be like, yeah, you wake up, you're on a thing, and they're like, we're sorry, we had to summon you. Go in. And it's like, what? What's happening? What?
And that ties into the thrown in at the deep end too. Just they are in this situation. They have to figure out both what's going on and also succeed at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what kind of characters are we going to throw? Because normally we talk about more scenarios and things, and we've kind of got an idea of the different types of games, and you can adapt a few games, but what kind of characters do we want to throw into this one?
Well, I think if you go my route as a DM, I am all about the throwaway characters that come back to bite your character in the ass because they did something wrong or they forgot about him. So if you have like Fred, who is this character they kind of were mean to, you could easily be like, well, Fred brought him back, and now you have that connection again.
Yes, I do like that idea. I think that's pretty good. To have it be that these characters from before, that it can be either a thing of them somehow having heard of you, proximity. There could be a lot of reasons why they pick you. And bring you in, and then also bringing in characters from the past. That would be interesting if they don't just summon your party, but they summoned like other people who they've interacted with, and it happens to be characters that your characters don't like. So maybe it's not just that you're underwater in a tough situation. It's now you're underwater in a tough situation with the big bad who's depowered because he's also underwater. So it's just like a thing where you're all like, hey, we need your help. And it's like, I don't want to work with that guy, but I want to help the mer people, but I don't want to be eaten. It's just like this thing of like, everyone's like, this is a bad situation to be in. And it keeps getting worse. So
yeah, I think that's great.
Depending on how evil or how much fun you think that can be, I think definitely involving some past characters is a great idea.
David, do you have any ideas of characters you'd like to see?
I kind of picture the Sahuagin as these like conquering defenders. So whoever their leader is would have to be really cruel and cocky. So that would be a fun character to play as the DM because they're going into this thinking that there's no chance that they'll lose, and so they get to kind of poke fun while also being this very intimidating figure on the sidelines.
That's a good point. I don't know exactly. I'm trying to even wrap my head around characters who are like that, and unfortunately, I can't think of any right now. But that is a very good description of what this character would have to be. Question that I think we're all avoiding because we like for our party to win and do good and everything goes great. What if they lose?
They die, I would think.
I don't think the party needs to die, but they definitely get to see kind of the wrath of the fish people.
I don't know. I mean, maybe... Do you think they could make a deal with the Sahuagin? Do you think that they could, do you think the big bad, maybe if you are doing the big bad, get stuck with them route, maybe he has a way out that he's like, I originally was not going to do this, but at this point, we got nothing left to lose. We could die on the way out, but here we go.
Yeah, I think...
And magic powers.
I think so. I think definitely... I always like the 3-option rule for an encounter of there's 3 different ways to complete it. So if the party tries to talk to them, I would make the DCs a little bit harder because they are so ingrained with this fighting and war. And I think if they lose, there has to be some sort of reward for them to go along with this. I know most parties aren't like a struggle-free party. Like, as a DM, I have to always at least have some sort of goal for them to accomplish, some sort of reward. They're all about the loot. So I think you definitely have to have that. And if they fail, one, they could watch the destruction of this village die, or they just don't get the promised reward.
You know, what's interesting is at the beginning of this, we talked about how, like, the merfolk or whoever are the people keeping them breathing underwater.
That's true.
So
yeah,
you take those people out, it's like, you got maybe 2 minutes and you're at the bottom of the ocean, basically. Good luck.
Yeah, or, if you're going with Space Jam, they can be part of a zoo in the Sahuagin city. So if they lose...
They don't hate the party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're like,
so you're just also... get to be our slaves or pets.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
And then you can have another, part B of, well, now you have to escape and get to the surface of the sea without dying.
Yeah, and again, the thing is, what's fascinating and somewhat fun is, in this situation, you'd have to figure this all out while having a character that is reliant on something external to breathe. Like, you would need to have either the Sahuagin or the merfolk be like, yeah, we need you, so we're going to keep you alive. And then, so if they keep them in the thing where they're like, oh yeah, they're interesting to us, they amuse us. Like, this could be a really strange start to an underwater campaign where it's just like, you endear yourselves... I'm going to mention a deep pool here. Do you guys remember the movie Black Knight with Martin Lawrence?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the movie Black Knight, he gets teleported back to medieval times. He's a guy from modern times, gets teleported back to medieval times.
I love that movie. I do.
And
he's like Luke Skywalker or something like that, right?
Yeah, his name's actually something like Walker, and then he changes it to Skywalker because he thinks the whole thing's like a big elaborate joke. And then later on he realizes it's like, oh no, this is real. So he makes up this backstory that he's like, oh, I am a messenger, but I'm also a jester. So the whole thing is he's like, I'm known for like being funny, so anything I do that looks ridiculous, that's on purpose. And that's like a great way to keep the character alive. But in that, he gets involved in a lot of political intrigue. Admittedly, it doesn't go too deep. It's a comedy. But because of that, there's different political things that happen. And it's like, you could have your party basically do underwater Game of Thrones now, where you're siding with the bad side because they're currently the people keeping you alive. And you can like try to play sides and get more situations to get out of here.
Yeah, that'd be a really great kicking off point for a campaign.
Yeah, that is great. I really love that. Now I want to make a campaign about that.
And it all started with C-Jam.
C-Jam.
You could even get to a point where, like, you're talking to the leader of the Sahuagin. I picture them as, like, an Attila the Hun type. And so you can kind of try and challenge them, and that'll, like, bring out these kind of competitive aspects. Maybe if you are, one of your avenues for getting back to the surface world is like, hey, I don't have my nation or my army with me, but you probably couldn't beat them. And so that could have like a water versus land war kind of start as well as part of this.
Ooh, I like that.
I
like that a lot.
That's very cool. You can also, if you are a DM who doesn't like going with what the pre-written lore, you can also have your party work with the Sahagin, and they don't necessarily have to be good or evil. I know that's like a big topic right now, so just throw that out there.
Oh yeah.
Going back to Attila the Hun, everyone who was conquered by him kind of saw him as this negative force, but his people all really revered him. So it could be you could end up on that side where they're not exactly the bad guys to you anymore.
That would be interesting, where it's like you have this kind of hardcore conqueror, and you could have it even be that I like the I challenge you to a battle of the land thing, where the thing that I'd be careful of with this players at home is that, and DMs at home, is that you don't want to make your villain stupid unless you want to make your villain stupid. But to me, a lot of times where it's like, well, I challenge you to a battle on land, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'll let you go to land to get your people together because I want to, like, then it just turns into Dragon Ball Z. No diss on Dragon Ball Z, but that's like the big thing. It's like, I want to fight you when you're strongest. And it's like some characters I feel like go like, tell me where that is. We'll go there and I'll show you that I can still destroy them. But I'm bringing my armies, I'm bringing everything, and I'm bringing you as a prisoner. I'm not letting you go.
Right. Yeah, I think you would have to definitely keep your party underwater. Just because if they're in this roulette of different games and sports, they have to be able to survive a long time, and they have to be able to get a rest. And if they're winning the event, whichever side they're on, they start staying in these luxurious underwater, rooms, and they have different, they're getting paid and they're getting different rewards for winning. So maybe they can win magical items to use in these games again. And if they start losing, all of a sudden they get downgraded. And then there's rumors of, we have to summon new warriors. These ones suck or something like that. And then now there's pressure of, oh God, if we lose one more, then they're just going to cancel our magic and we're going to drown.
Yeah, that within itself is scary. I wouldn't know if I would say payment in the traditional sense, only because I feel like if you're siding with the merfolk in this situation, I don't think they're going to be able to really pay. I think they can give you like a nice house, good food, different stuff like that, but I don't think that they can.
No, I mean, like,
if you side with the Sahuagin, I think maybe they would have gold. Maybe they're like, hey, buddy, don't you want to go to ours? And that could be an interesting thing, too, is you can get summoned by the merfolk, and then the Sahuagin are like, we'll just buy you. Come to our side. We're the bad guys, sure, but we'll own that. Like, we're going to eat them. We don't want to eat you. Work for us. You need air? We can give you air. Come on.
Yeah,
you don't have to work with your arch enemy who they summoned also.
Maybe that's part of why the Sahagin are attacking the merfolk to begin with. And that's kind of what lets you stay down there, is there's this artifact of some kind that lets you breathe both air and water. And so the merfolk use it on the party so that they can help them. But then when we lose, the Sahagin want it so that they can go on to land and start kind of continuing their empire.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff.
So the artifact is kind of what makes it so you want to help the merfolk, because it's what's keeping you breathing.
Well, there is magic that naturally keeps you breathing.
That's true.
But I guess it would be more of a permanent thing. Mm-hmm. So that would be the difference, is that it would be like, oh yeah, so that'd be a fun thing for your party too, is that they can permanently breathe underwater. Maybe it's like we switched it to do one way or the other, and maybe it's like a switch. So that way it's like you can't really escape. Because if you did, you couldn't breathe air. You could only breathe water.
Oh, so. Yeah. That's great.
So maybe that's the thing for the event, or for the objects. So that way there's no clear out, because I feel like if you gave them like, I can breathe in the air and in the water, I'm going to leave. And then they can just literally, if they ever somehow did get out of the water, they could walk away. But in this case, they're trapped in the water with them. So the merfolk can be like, we could leave, but we're not close enough to leave yet. And they won't let us go because they want us to surrender, and our last hope are these games, this Olympics.
That could tie into you didn't want the villain to be dumb. Rather than having it be like a cocky thing where he's like, I know I'm going to win this, he could be like, rather than throwing my troops at you because you have this device that can just make a huge chunk of my troops not breathe and lose them because I want to wage war on the surface world now, I'll play these games so that I can beat you and still keep all my might.
Ooh.
I'm not going to lose my troops.
Yeah. I like that. And I also, I like a villain who cares about his henchmen. It's not very often you get those. I don't know why that is. But it's just a thing. But yeah, I really like the way that this is shaping up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is very nice. A good old rich chef's kiss right there. So yeah, what else do we want to flesh out? The village at all or anything? I know we kind of have like I'm trying to think of the turmoil, the politic-scape right now.
I, for some reason, very much, it might be because I've been looking into a lot of Greek culture for a side project I've been doing, but I'm thinking merfolk, very Greek. It might be also be because Olympics, but very like Greek structure, Greek design, a lot of that. And I like the kind of idea of like the Suhujin being more like the Huns, where it's a lot more like warrior people, but not just, they're still people, but they're warrior people. It's a warrior mindset.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, we do this because it's what's supposed to happen. Like, we need to gather all the things. And that can be a thing of even like, I want to own the land. I want to have it be that my kingdom spreads far and wide because then we are absolute and we have done the goal of the Suhujin ultimately.
Yeah, I think that is a great point whereof DMs just find a culture you really like and you can just start pulling things around and changing it. Because I never thought of the Sahagins as the Huns till now, and now I can't stop thinking of that. Because Attila was very superstitious, and if you could do a nice magic trick in front of him, you would automatically get bumped up to one of the top tiers in his tribe. So if you had someone who do like prestidigitation on him or something like that, then you have a whole other aspect of different games you can include into these Olympics. Like you can have your magic caster who can cast the largest fireball underwater type thing. Yeah, that's
also for those for those people who are just in love with the lore of Dungeons and Dragons as written. That would also make sense then why Suhujin value priest and priestesses so much is because they're the magic casters of that. So it's like the one step right below their, I'm gonna say emperor because I can't remember what they call it. I think it's a chief actually, but like their ruler. So that would explain why they're so close if you make him kind of more of a superstitious magic person, like fearing magic person. And maybe that's the thing about the merfolk. Maybe they're like, we don't know if we should just go in and attack them because if we do, some of them have magic. So that could be the thing where it's like, because again, some of the merfolk have to have magic to bring a party down. So it could be the thing of like, oh gosh, I don't really want, I can fight most of them and we can take all of them. But if they have magic, I don't know what that does. And you could have it be a thing of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah. Because can't they summon large sharks, the priestess?
I believe so. I don't have the book in front of me right now, but I believe that's one of the
normally
things.
Go online and check D&D Beyond, but since my computer is like, you're working me too hard today, I don't want to chance it.
No problem.
Although I do have all the books next to me. You would think I would be able to walk up and grab them.
Nah. This is research for the people at home. Play along at home with us. By doing that, by researching for yourself.
You can tweet at us what we got wrong.
Yes.
I think to add kind of to the theme, because we had thrown in the scenario thrown in the deep end. Not just with the sports would that apply. They would get to kind of jump into the political climate between the two and have to figure that out as well.
And you can make it as messy or as clean as you want. Because you can have it be like, oh, merfolk good, Sahugin bad. Or you could have the Sahugin be like, no, they keep doing stuff, and we don't want them. We just want the shell. The shell could be something that they found that the merfolk stole because they know what the Sahugin are going to do. So then it's like, okay, yeah, they're in the wrong, but technically that is their object. Mm-hmm. And that's what they want back. They don't really care about the merfolk. They're just like, give us our air breather back so we can go conquer the land. And the merfolk are like, no, you're a big enough problem underwater. And they're like, okay, we'll just eat you then. This is how it's got to be. Like, it could be more nuanced than we originally suggested with just like the things of it being one way or the other. Because again, nobody does something for no reason. Like, everyone's going to do what they're doing because they have a purpose behind it. So for the Sahugin, if that's the case, then it would make them make more sense.
Yeah, that very much reminds me of, to bring it back to the top of the episode of Avatar, with the when they're walking through the mountains, they have, I can't remember what they're called though, the Zhang and the Zhao, I think, of those two like really clean cut clan, and then there's like the dirty one, and they're both wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you could have it very much in that similar aspect of, like the water breathing artifact could also be one of those balls that hold important lore to the Sahagin. And if you don't speak Sahagin, you would never know, like, that it does.
Oh, so it could be one of those, what are they called? One of the shells that's in their backstory, that when it shakes, it's in their language.
And so, or that could even hold the secret of like, hey, here's how you get to be on land. Here is the secret of how you get onto land. Well, we're stealing that.
Yeah, and the merfolk could be the ones trying to guard that secret. So one like that. Can sea elves breathe on land?
I think so.
Or merfolk? Because if they can, like, that explains why the Sahagins are like, this was our treasure first. We have a right to be on land as well. Why do they also get to be on land? You know?
Yeah, you could even have it be that they're making it far more of, just making it far less of a thing of them being, both sides are wrong in their own ways, and really highlight that part of it.
Ooh,
I had three thoughts there, and they all crossed.
We kind of talked about the leader of the Sahagin being this Attila the Hun warlike type. The leader of these merfolk, we were going with kind of that Greek theme. It could be like one of the ancient Greek philosophers, and so they get to have these actual discussions with the leader on what's right and wrong, and it would be like this long conversation that they could have.
Well, I view the Sahugin in this version of the story as very prideful. I think that they would be, because again, it would be interesting, and that would definitely work if you wanted to have it be that they didn't know what was in the shell. They just knew the Sahugin wanted it, and they're like, no, you're not getting this, because if you get it, you're going to kill us. And they're like, no, we don't, give us the shell back. We may not. But it could be that. It could be, but it should definitely be a thing of them being like too prideful to actually ask for it. Mm-hmm. They're just like, give now. And they're like, no. And it's like, well, then murder. Like, but you could have it be that, you could have a Sahugin be like a wannabe philosopher and be like, hey, I actually want to kind of talk this out, but they're not going to listen to me. I'm way too low on the chain. I don't have magic powers. I don't have an in with the king or emperor. I'm just telling you, this is what I think is right, and this is what I think should happen. And you can have like a sympathetic on both sides character, where one of them's like, yeah, I don't think it's right that we stole the shell, but at the same time, none of us want to get eaten by the Sahugin, and we can't trust that they won't eat us if we give it back. And so they're like, all right, well, but yeah, you could have like, either way for NPCs, you could have an NPC that is the opposite side's team who kind of looks at it and goes like, no, I get it, but so it's just like a thing of that where it's like, I can look at the other side and I can give you our perspective of what the other side actually is and articulate it without the pride, without the like fear, but I'm still going to ultimately say we can't do business because of that. And then that's why we're doing these sports games. That's why we summoned you, blah, blah, blah. That's why we bought you with the gold, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that would be an interesting concept for if the Sahuagins are like, join us and give you gold. It might be communicated or thought of like, oh, you're buying services. And it's like, no, they bought you. So it's a thing where the party later only realizes it's like, no, you don't get to go anywhere. That's what the gold is. We bought you. You are ours now. And it's like a tricky thing, but it depends on how dark and how weird you want to make those stories. Yeah. But I personally like the idea of it being a jumping off point and you working with the people rather than it being, but I know some people out there like very dark campaigns. So giving some options. According to the UA, sea elves can indeed breathe air and water. So yeah, this would be like preventing Sahuagin from having that right. And that would be the thing for Sahuagin, is that I feel like they'd view it as it is our right to be able to go out and be on land and take over, like, for long points of time. Because I think Sahuagin can be out for a little bit, but I think they have to continuously go back to water. And I could be wrong. You guys will tweet at us. It'll be great. We'll love it. I'll be like, I was totally wrong. But, yeah. Yeah, I feel like this is a pretty good one. So, what else are you guys thinking?
Do we have all of the events that we wanted to do? I know we had like the shot put, we had the race,
the Chariot NASCAR of Death.
Yeah, Chariot NASCAR.
Oh, that's another good name though, Chariot NASCAR of Death.
I think Sahagins would definitely have a game of might. So a gladiatorial fight, maybe not to the death, but to submission. WWE wrestling, you could throw that in there.
I think that's pretty good. Maybe it's masked, so it's like maybe it's something like masked wrestling. Like if they rip off your mask, it's ultimate dishonor, and that's where it's like you get death.
You lose. So it's like capture the flag, but wrestling with masks. You know, you capture all the masks of your different rivals, and that way you can get your grappling checks, and you can get your athletics, acrobatics, dexterity. That's great.
Yeah, so you have it like that, where it's like, oh, you take off the mask, you lose, and then you could have it, or you could have it be a little more Mortal Kombat. I know you got all you new guys in here who are like, who are these guys? Are also loving that we're just throwing constant references at you. But with that, you could have it be like, oh, you lost. If you take off the mask, then it's like, okay, then you're out. Then you get like straight murked. You are done. The Sahuagin can eat you. Like, it is game. And maybe the Sahuagin, I don't know if they're cannibals, so you could throw that in there. Or you could have it be they feed them to the sharks. Be a cool way to do that.
Well, Sahuagin will eat their own children, so I don't think they'll mind.
So yeah, I think they're open to it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think they'll be like part of the reward meat that they get at the end. Oh, that would be an interesting concept too. Is like, what if the rewards that they give are what their people or party like values? So it's not going to be like, oh, hey, here's tons of gold, but it's going to be like, got you fish meat of a loser Sahuagin, and it's like, thanks. And it's like, no, it means you're part of us now. And it's like, okay, that's just creepy though. Mm-hmm. But to refuse would be like, that's a bad thing. Don't do that. And it's like, oh, you're in a tough spot. What do you do?
I think if we go with Space Jam still, I think you definitely have to have some sort of basketball in there as well. Whether it be like with a shell instead of a ball or something.
I think you can do underwater basketball. I think you could do it. I think you can find a way. You have like a rock or something instead of a ball, so it doesn't bounce. It just kind of floats like a levitating rock, or a rock someone casts levitate on, so it's got some lightness, but it still is heavy enough. And you just play underwater basketball, and then that has to be the last event, though.
Oh,
it's got to be like the deciding factor.
Yeah.
It could be more like rugby. That's kind
I'm
of
still a big fan of underwater polo, and I would very much want to play this.
Oh yeah, I think underwater polo has to be. So maybe pick like 3 or 4 or 5 of them that we just spat out at you, and let us know on Twitter how you morphed this in your mechanic wise, or how you made this mechanically suitable for D&D or for Pokemon too. I think this could totally be a Pokemon underwater adventure as well.
Or any other RPGs that you guys play. There's a lot out there that I'm only just beginning to learn about because it feels like a new one pops up every day. But yeah, so I think we got a pretty good handle on this one. We got our big villain. We got who I think is great. Oh, I guess we should kind of have a counter. Who's gonna be? What's the like equivalent on the merfolk side or sea elf side?
Well, I think it's
like,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, David, you did bring it up. The philosopher, isn't that like their
I apologize. That is true. Yeah. So okay. So even having like. Should that be more of like the overall culture of them? Like that be the grand scheme? I think that'd work.
Yeah, very
Athens-esque.
Athens-esque.
We talked a little bit about like the aesthetic, and we talked about Greece, and I pictured this like last thing happening at a Grecian temple underwater, and so that could be why the aquatic people have lost a majority of the wars, because they spend too much time arguing and discussing the philosophy of it. So you would get to see like the savagery of the Sahuagin coming like to fight, and then you just have the other group discussing while losing ground.
And sports is the perfect compromise with this too.
Yeah.
So it's just like, we agreed to settle this in a game of underwater basketball. So that's the final game. Welcome to Sea Jam. But yeah, I really like this one.
Me too.
I'm going to say that about every one of them. I can feel it now. I understand what Rich and Cam were saying, because anytime they finished, they're like, I really like this one. I was like, and anytime listening, I was like, you guys really like all of them. But it's like, no, it's really cool.
I think we're ready for the synopsis and review, or recap.
Well, review also works. Yeah. So I believe who's up for that?
I believe
it's you two.
Yes.
Isn't it?
No, it's myself and you, Malcolm.
Oh.
You have
so
recap, and I have the synopsis.
Okie doke. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into the recap while you prepare your synopsis.
All right.
Okie doke. So your characters have been summoned underwater, deep underwater, towards the bottom of the ocean, or a bottom of the ocean, where there is merfolk who have asked for your help in a game of sports, a gauntlet of sports, really. Several sports, including things like underwater polo, shot put, of course, underwater basketball, and various other things that you just let your imagination go wild on. And they need your help because they're not great at sports, but the Sahuagin are. And they are going to eat the merfolk if you do not intervene. So you must then go out and either choose to side with the merfolk or the Sahuagin, who will pay you, to join their side, and so on and such forth for the games. You pick your side and hopefully win. Otherwise, you may enter a situation where you are trapped or possibly enslaved, and you may enter a situation where you escape and break free, only to be hunted by Sahuagin for the rest of the campaign. So, also, I almost failed to mention that there is a device that allows for people or beings to breathe either air or underwater, which was used on you, so you do not need to worry about breathing underwater, but you can no longer breathe air and must help one side to get that device to ultimately have them do what they want with it, whether it be the merfolk and stopping that, or stopping the Sahuagin from reaching land, or the Sahuagin who would be very grateful and certainly help you in some way once they now rule over the land. I think that covers most of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Good.
All right. So your party happily going along on a quest they had previously been given. The merriment is there, they're joyful, they're laughing, until all of a sudden they find themselves in the middle of an arena where the crowd is chanting and stomping their feet to "We Will Rock You" as a shark swims by their face. And as they follow the shark, they realize that there's a rider on it. And the rider turns around and points as they look over to this rusted-looking chariot attached to 3 dolphins. And this weak-looking sea elf clumsily motions you over. And as you clumsily swim over there, you are told that you were summoned on their side to act as their fighters, since they could no longer fight themselves. You were thrown into this chariot race where you're just given very little information about how to drive. Your barbarian says, "I'll do it." And as you go in and start driving around, you make sharp left turns, this long marble pillar in the center of this Colosseum. And you keep getting passed by these 2 teams of sharks as they take bites out of your dolphins, and you're brought back into your pit stop as they keep exchanging dolphins, and you're told, "Hey, if you keep doing this, you're gonna die. So you gotta win, or you're gonna die." And that is my synopsis of being thrown into the deep. In the deep end with some NASCAR chariot racing.
So good.
Yeah, this was a fun one.
Yeah, this one was good. Outro.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I have been one of our hosts, David.
I've been another one of your hosts, Malcolm.
And I'm your last host, Sam.
All right. Roll safe out there.
Hey there, listeners. Thanks for listening to Filling in the Gap Rerolled. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Speaking of today, our theme music is Today by Linby, off their album Drive. If you like it, you can hear more from them at linby.bandcamp.com or their actual play podcast, Bombarded. Both are great, and we highly encourage you all to check them out. Side note, if you'd also like to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, that would be great as well. We very much appreciate it, as we are trying to grow and reach more struggling DMs or players out there. You can find all of us on Twitter. I am at DMMambo5.
You can find me at Daedra18, that is DAEDRA18.
You can find me at The Ruler of Rhyme.
And the show's handle is FITGDND. We also have a Discord server, which should be attached to our Twitter. If not, we'll put it there, because we are always looking for new themes and scenarios to add to our list, and we'd love some new Hive Mind members. Last note of this outro is that the show is edited by our audio gremlin, Andrew. You can follow them at xnubinator912x and interact with all of us. We are proud to be a Obtuse Audio Studios podcast, and you can learn more about them at obtuseaudio.com. And again, I am coming to you asking you to give us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes so we can slowly take over the world. Or, I don't know, climb the charts. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
What's in your thoughts? Oh, what's in your mind? What fills your head and what leaves it behind? It's too much today. It's too much today.
Obtuse Audio.